you thinking about a trip to Cancun, Mexico, and not sure where to stay? Or are you looking at booking the Dorado Casitas Royale and wanting to see what it really is like? We stayed at the Dorado Casitas Royale in September 22, and as a foodie, it was the right choice. There was over 14 restaurants to choose from, and we managed to stay in 2 different types of room, a beach view and a swim-up room. We experienced other activities such as skydiving, scuba diving, snorkelling, visiting Tulum, exploring cenotes, a catamaran trip, and spa treatments. In this video, I'm going to talk you through the resort, what was included, what was extra, and give you an idea of what to expect in the restaurants. And I'm going to tell you what type of room I would recommend if you are going to be booking this hotel and why. I'll also be sharing some tips so you get the most out of your stay. And as always with my videos, I'll be sharing how much it costs. So let's jump in. The Dorado Casitas Royale is about 21 miles or 35 minutes drive from Cancun Airport, and it's 15 minutes north of Playa del Carmen, on the coast looking out of the Caribbean Sea. This is a resort for those not wanting to be in the more lively area of Cancun, where there's lots of bars and clubs. Here you can get a direct flight to Cancun from the United Kingdom. We actually flew from Manchester, but TUI and other airlines also fly directly. The El Dorado Resorts is part of an adults-only hotel on the Riviera Maya. Surrounded by original rainforest, they pride themselves on their service and food offering, with an all-inclusive resort including up to 14 restaurants. There's actually 3 sections of this resort. There's the Dorado Royale, which is the main resort where the main reception is, and you'll get dropped off initially, with a huge pool and lots of other areas where people can stay in accommodation of varying types. There's then the Dorado Casitas Royale, which is in the middle, and this is where we stayed. This is where you have rooms that are grouped around smaller pools with swim-up bars, and this gives you a lot more privacy. It's a much more private experience, and it means you get to know the people there who are working. And honestly, we probably never saw more than 2 to 4 people by the pool on the days that we were there. It was so quiet. The Generations Riviera Maya is at the other end of the resort, and this is the family part, which is child friendly. We actually did visit here to go to a couple of the restaurants, but I'll share some more of that in the video coming up. This is my second time in a type of resort holiday like this, and I enjoyed it. It was nice. The weather was stunning. It was warm every day, same temperature, and for me, it was just amazing how fast when the rain came in, it just cleared a few hours later, like in all tropical places. So it was pretty much the same temperature every day. As you can see, the resort is huge. It took us about 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other. They also have a shuttle bus service that you can get, which takes you around the resort. And if you're checking in and out of your room, then they bring someone with a buggy to come and pick up you and your suitcases. So we booked a swim-up room, but that was under maintenance when we arrived. So for the first few days, we were put into a beachfront suite. Now, I loved this room. It was a single cabin, had a view onto the beach, massive high ceilings, huge bed, comfortable mattress. The bath was right next to the window so you could look out onto the beach. The bathroom had both an outdoor shower and an indoor shower, and you had a fridge that was topped up with soft drinks and little chocolates every day. This is where we spent most of our time, was on the decking outside of the cabin, and this is where we actually had breakfast. So on the app that you get when you get to the resort, you can actually order breakfast or room service to be delivered. And so we had this 2 days out here. It was just stunning, having breakfast in the morning, watching everything come to life. So a tip for you around the resort, don't leave the room from the balcony door, because we did this quite a few times, and what you'll find is the balcony door will lock itself behind you, and if your front door is locked from the inside, you won't be able to open it with the key. So you have to wait for security to come and let you back in, and because it's such a large resort, we were sometimes waiting quite a while for security to come and let us back into our room. So yeah, they recommended only leave your room through the front door and not through the balcony door. When our room was ready 3 days later, we packed our bags and they were then brought to our new room, which was a swim-up suite. Now, we saw when we booked that you could get this suite where you can basically go straight out your door, jump into the pool, and there's like a moat that goes around the back of the bar area that takes you into the main pool. And even though it was nice to be able to do that, we didn't really use it that much. And you do get sun lounges with this room. That's the big difference from the one before. And the sun lounges are kind of half submerged in the pool. But again, we barely really used it. For me personally, I would recommend the beachfront suite just because of the views and because of the much bigger balcony area that was, and it wasn't overlooked at all. Any of the swim up suites are going to be part of the curve that's kind of coming into the main area. So the beach, whilst we're on the topic of that, I'd read online beforehand that it hasn't got the best beach at this resort. And, you know, for people expecting pure sand beaches are going to be disappointed here. And so I was expecting it not to be great, and I'll be honest, it wasn't that comfy to walk on because there's lots of stones. They do go around and clear the seaweed every day, but the big thing that people were complaining about online was about how there's these huge big stones or rocks that are in the sea that kind of ruin the view. So the reason they're there is after Hurricane Wilma in 2005, there was huge damage that was caused all along the coast of Cancun and this area. And so these rocks have been put there to try and stop erosion from happening in the sea. And eventually these rocks will sink down below sea level. So, you know, once I understood why they were there, it didn't really bother me personally. And it wasn't the most sandiest beach, but there were so many other areas around this resort that were gorgeous. The beach wasn't the priority for me. And one of those was the restaurants. I'm a huge foodie, and I don't think I've ever had this much choice of food to eat that's all inclusive. We were there for 11 days and we still didn't get to try every single restaurant. One of the great things about this as well is that all these restaurants cook food to order. It's not like you're going to a buffet, because we don't like food that's been sat out for ages, and also there's loads of food waste with that kind of setup. So our first restaurant we went to was Kampai. This was a sushi restaurant where we went for both lunch and dinner whilst we stayed. It was a beautiful decor and yeah, so tasty. The sushi was gorgeous. Also, we had some sashimi, really nice. Recommend this place definitely if you're going. It's a nice little light lunch. We also went to Isla. Now this actually ended up being our favourite restaurant overall, where we went to I think maybe 3 or 4 times. And it's a Mexican restaurant where we've had breakfast and we had lunch and dinner. We went most mornings, mostly because it was actually closest to the main entrance of the resort. So if you have an excursion booked, and some of them were setting off at like 8:30 or maybe 9 a.m. So we would go here, have our breakfast. We also met a super friendly waiter called Israel, and we loved the Mexican breakfast options here. There was such cool little sauces you got when you sat down, and some really tasty food. You also got great views of the pool and the sun rising in the morning. And for Ed's birthday, he even got a little cake from the waiter. Santa Fe Grill, we had dinner here and we had to have the steak just because of the restaurant being a grill restaurant. It was huge. There is a supplement extra for this steak, so just be aware that might be an extra cost. We also went for breakfast as well and had Mexican omelette, which was super tasty. And if you do dine at Santa Fe Grill, I recommend going out to the balcony at the back and have a look over. You might see a little friend with some big teeth hanging around outside. And then we went to the Dorado Casitas. This is an Italian restaurant where we went within the first couple of days of us arriving at the resort, and it was really tasty, like a gourmet style restaurant. One of the things I loved was the fact they came along with this trolley with a massive cheese that they would carve off chunks for you to have with your food. We actually also booked the private dining here for Ed's birthday. This was a special treat and it was extra money. It was £191. Now, we were meant to be eating with other people, but it ended up just being the 2 of us. So this meant that we had basically private dining experience for just 2. And I think it was maybe a 6 or 7 course meal where we had our own waiter. You're sat in a separate room that's closer to the kitchen so you can see everyone cooking. It was very nice, and I think it's definitely worth something as a special treat. Then Fiesta Mexicana was a special night that they had on. I think it might have been a Wednesday evening, where they'd set up lots of different food stalls and trucks near the beach, and that's where we then went in to eat our food at Guacamaras. this event, there was food such as salad, meats, tacos, desserts, quesadillas. There was so much to choose from. You could pay extra if you wanted to sit closer to the stage, as there was a performance that was on, but we were quite happy sitting in some of the free seats, and we got chatting to new people. So I definitely recommend checking out that evening at that restaurant. It was good. And then we actually went over to the Generations part of the resort, where there's the kind of apartment towers that look out onto the pool. And we tried a couple of different restaurants here. So firstly, we went to Habb, which is an Indian restaurant. It was nice, but we didn't find that the service was as good as the other restaurants. We also then visited Jade, and it was the same really. We did have sushi, but maybe it's because these are in like the family area of the resort and we'd been in the adults area. It was just a very different vibe. And then we also actually went to Palm's Gourmet for lunch one of the days, and this was an area where you can sit out and look onto the beach. We had soft tacos. It was super tasty. But again, I think I've got quite used to not being around any children because it was a bit loud for me with kids screaming. So all the staff were trying to get us to book Fuentes, which is a live cooking show. It was around £31. So we did this and everyone was saying how amazing it was. I'll be honest, I felt like it was a little bit gimmicky. It felt like being in a cooking show on television and you were in the audience, and all of the waiters would come out with food and there'd be like music pumping. There's like loads of different lights going off, and I think if you're a big drinker you might enjoy it because there was like a pairing wine that was served with every course, and then there'd be a host and the chef talking to the host and making jokes. But for us it was not the best restaurant, and so personally I didn't like it. Then the health bar was open all the time during the day, and you could go here to either get smoothies or some healthy snacks. Quite a lot of people went to the early morning yoga and then would pop to the health bar after to get their smoothie. I think there was like 30 different smoothies to choose from, and it was such a beautiful place to sit out by the beach and also get salad bowls and healthy food. One of the things to be aware of in the restaurants is that there is a dress code, and so a lot of the restaurants will say that you need to wear shirts or at least smart shorts or trousers, and some of the restaurants won't allow shorts. They say that you have to wear trousers. I think this might be for like Italian and Santa Fe from my memory, so it's worth packing some smart trousers anyway. And also some of these places have the air conditioning so low that you're probably going to need to have more layers on than anything else. Some of the favourite parts of the resort for me were the beds on the beach. Now, we sat out here for maybe 1 or 2 days and was just watching the beach, protected from the wind by the material on either side, and it was wonderful just sitting there reading a book. The other thing I loved about this resort was just, it was spotless. It was so clean. I've never been anywhere where all the pavements were clean, the grass was cut, the sunbeds had been set up for you to use. Honestly, it was like being in heaven. It's unreal. There's also lots of hammocks in the trees that you can go and sit in, and also you can go and just sit by the sea in the evenings and watch the moon in some of these hammocks. It was beautiful. There was also lots of little stalls that popped up every day, offering different things. One of the day was fresh coconuts, where you could just enjoy fresh coconut water. Another day it was some desserts, I think on one of the evenings, or like ice cream. So it was just really nice that they'd thought about those little things as people are walking back to their room after dinner. Also, there were so many animals and so much nature around. As the mangroves are right behind the resort, we saw geckos, cats, even a crocodile in the restaurant. So a couple of the resort activities that you can do. So these are the ones that are included and for free. So there's an app that you get when you arrive, and the app basically shows you the schedule of all the events going on. So there might be either sport events that are going on inside the pool. We actually wanted to go and do the daily cycle tour of the resort, but we didn't get up in time to do it, or we already had other activities planned. So I'd recommend that to get a good kind of grounding of the whole resort area. We managed to get to one of the Spanish lessons, which was taught by one of the staff. So we got an introduction to Spanish. Ed's Spanish is much better than mine, so I don't know if I picked up that much. They also have a tour of the greenhouse. This is where you get to understand how all the food that they grow on site is then prepared and then sent into the kitchens. It was amazing to see this setup. It's so huge. There was multiple greenhouses with so many different things growing. They even had vegetables growing inside old bathtubs that used to be in the rooms. I thought that was pretty cool. We also then went to visit one of the cenotes, which is on the site of the resort. Now, a cenote is like a pit or a sinkhole, which usually occurs when the limestone collapses and there's water inside. There's actually around 6,000 cenotes in Cancun, and that's almost all of the cenotes, which are actually in Mexico overall, of about 7,000. So the extra activities that we did pay for on site were the spa. We spent about £200 for a 4-hour spa experience for both of us. It did include a massage, a full body scrub, and a face massage. And we also got to use the spa facilities like the pool. I think Ed loved the fact that there was a cold plunge pool, and it wasn't the best experience. I think it was slightly overpriced really for what it was. We also went to the Starbucks on site, which was so cool. I could get my Frappuccino hit there, especially on some super hot days. And then there's also a gift shop for buying gifts for people, either yourself or others, and also some really nice traditional made materials. When you arrive, your concierge introduces you to the person who can help book other activities for you. And so we actually were looking at going to Chichen Itza, but because it was a 5 a.m. wake up and a 5-hour round coach trip, we decided to go visit Tulum instead, which was closer. So we did Tulum, snorkeling, and a turtle sanctuary, and also exploring cenotes. It was kind of a full day package, £220 for both of us for the full day, included lunch, transport, and the taxi. It was super fun. Tulum was so historical and so beautiful. It was very, very hot though, so we weren't there that long before we were back in the van again, and then we went snorkeling at the turtle sanctuary. Now this was so cute because these turtles are protected here, and so you kind of brought with the group, put on a boat, and then you'll put out to sea where they kind of know the turtles might be. So this was so stunning to see these turtles growing and being looked after. After that, we then went exploring in a cenote, and to get there was quite a bumpy ride. We actually crossed over where they're cutting down trees to build a train line, and this was something that I saw when I was doing my skydive, which I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, it's crazy to think they've just chopped down this entire row of forest just to build this train line. The cenote was very cool. You were there in our life jackets going down into the water, going through these tiny little nooks in the cave. It really felt like we were exploring. So I mentioned about skydiving. This is something on my bucket list to do, and it was around $269. It was stunning. My friend recommended this company particularly, which is called Skydive Playa, from when they went to Cancun. So as I was only a 10-minute taxi drive away, we booked into Playa del Carmen, and it was 100% worth it. It was such an intense experience. I was full of excitement, nervousness, terror, all at the same time. But once I was actually in that plane going up, and then I was out of it, the views were just stunning. It was just amazing. I can't even describe it, you can just see it. But yeah, as I mentioned, you could see how far this train line has been dug out from this forest, which I think is being built, and it's going to be a way to help people get around the area faster. Also, because going that high in the sky wasn't enough, we also booked to go scuba diving. Now, we've never done scuba diving before, so on this activity, it was £260 for both of us, and what we were given was a theory for about 2 hours on the side of the beach, where we learned about how it works, how the kit works, what signals to make. And then we went onto the boat and did some practice. I think initially we went down to maybe around 5 to 10 meters. We had to kind of slowly come down this rope, adjust ourselves to the pressure, and then once we then had to show that we were able to knock our mouthpiece out from our mouth and bring it back without panicking or swallowing any water. After we did this, then we got back in the boat and we went to a deeper place to go down to I think around 30 meters. And it was just crazy to be underwater, floating, swimming around, exploring this whole different world that's down there. We did see several fish, and this team that were looking after us were just amazing. It was quite sad to see how the coral had all been bleached, and there wasn't actually a huge amount of life going on down there. One of the things that we were told is that because of a lot of the building of more resorts on this coast, it's caused there to be a lot of dredging, where they'll literally just dredge up things out of the sea to help build these resorts, but it kills off all this wildlife in the sea whilst it's being done. So how much did it cost? So for both of us, staying 11 nights from Manchester Airport with TUI, with a swim-up suite and a terrace whirlpool bath, the total we paid was £5,198. Now £802 of that was an extra supplement for having the swim-up room, which, as I said, I probably wouldn't recommend booking if I was to do it again. I would have got the beach view suite instead. We actually booked this, I think, maybe 10 days before we went, because it was a last-minute choice of holiday destination. So I think it's generally more expensive than this usually, so I think this was quite a good deal. So, thank you for watching. If you found this useful, then please hit the like and subscribe button. This will help YouTube to show this video to other people who are interested in it, like you. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye!